humility with the question in the first place, representing our humility with Allah Himself. Huwa al-alim al-hakim. He has full knowledge. He has full wisdom. Udkhulu fi silmi kafa. Submit yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't get to start from the place of how you think the world should function and then try to mold a God that operates the world the way you think it should function. What was the question of the companions? Not why did Allah do that? And I'm having trouble with the belief in God then. If this is how you're saying God creates, no. You know what they said? Ya Rasulullah, what do we do then? Do our a'mal matter then? Do our deeds matter then? And the Prophet ﷺ said, "I'malu kullu muyassarun lima khuliqa lahu." Everyone will be facilitated to what they were created for. Act, do your deeds. Your deeds are your deeds, and that's what's going to facilitate you to your destination. That's what's going to be confronting you on the day of judgment of good or bad. The Sahaba asked about themselves in the divine scheme, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself and how He created it. Because you've got to submit yourself to it. And that's why when you talk about Arkan al-Iman and the pillars of faith, the articles of faith, it starts with Allah, His names, His attributes. If you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything else falls in. If you don't know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you logically try to construct everything and then try to fit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into that, you will inevitably fail and be left unsatisfied. Instead, Allah is Alim, Allah is Hakim, Allah is all-knowing, Allah is all-wise. You know, subhanAllah, someone, as I was working through this narration with a young brother before, he said, okay, so I understand, Allah created us and He gave us choices. Couldn't that happen after we make those choices? Why do you wait for the outcome? Because you want to know what the outcome is. You're once again trying to impose on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala time, place, what has happened versus what will happen. And to Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, it's all the same. But here's the thing. Subhanallah, Allah calls us in the Quran, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wants to believe, believe. And whoever wants to disbelieve, disbelieve. It starts off in the Quran, فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Those that follow my guidance have no fear, have no grief. Allah is calling you, ادعوني أستجب لكم. Call upon me, I will answer you. استغفروني, seek my forgiveness. أغفر لكم, I will forgive you. And nothing is forced upon you. To the point, by the way, subhanAllah, that if you were to sleep through a prayer, just because of something completely out of your control, you're not accountable for what you slept through, you're accountable for how you act when you woke up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not punish you, even in the Sharia, for things that are out of your control. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden a soul beyond its scope. So then how can you then turn around and say, Ya Allah, this is not fair because the decree is already over me and I have absolutely nothing to do with it. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala excuses you for what you do out of compulsion, how is it that you can then turn around and say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you predetermine something based upon your knowledge that is unfair? And therefore, I'm going to simply play my role and act. And on the day of judgment, I'm just like anyone else, right? I simply played the role that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to me. It doesn't work that way. It's your deeds. And Allah Azza wa Jal says that He created us. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةِ. The one who created death and life to test you who will be the best in their deeds. This is not some experiment that you have nothing to do with. It is fully up to you, but you will never be able to overcome the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The choice is yours, the choice is mine. And you think about how the Prophet ﷺ flips this on its head. كُلُّ أُمَّتِي يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَبَى. It's the complete opposite. The Prophet ﷺ says, everyone goes to Jannah except for the one who refuses. Everyone goes to paradise from my ummah except for the one who refuses. You refuse paradise.